I realized this morning that I am not at all ready for the football season. I haven't yet begun preparation for my fantasy
ready.
draft.
Watch Hard Knocks. You'll be fine.
I heard your conversation about it yesterday. I might have to binge the first two, but I realized that preseason is such a bastardization of football now that it does not allow me to really ramp up to the season. I don't have any clue of what most teams are going to be doing. For instance, like the Dolphins are going to be running a new offense, and I know that they ran some of it against the Raiders on Saturday, but I don't actually feel like I have a grasp as to what the Dolphins are ramping up to. Like I read about how Mike Gesicki is transitioning. Basically, he even said it himself, from being a receiver to being a tight end, and that could be a real drastic change for him. But like, is this atypical to most NFL preseasons where I just feel like most people are analyzing off of last year's evidence and we don't actually have new information on football?
I have a quick question. Can you walk us through your day off if it entails listening to 5 hours of us? Because it feels like that's not really a day off.
I was on a plane, so it was a long travel day, walking through terminals, all that. Got to know what's going on the show when I come back. I feel bad if like I come really, we were talking about this yesterday. We were talking about this yesterday.
You'll
like, no,
get over that.
I'm in on the joke. I know what's going on.
I don't even know who Connor Onion is, and I was here yesterday.
I mean, Billy, I pay attention. I like to know what's going on. I also like you guys.
Oh, that's heartwarming. Connor Onion is the one who's gonna do a broadcast with Jessica's uncle Art Sour Cream.
I don't get that either.
No?
It was Fred.
It was Fred?
That was Fred Sour Cream. Yeah.
Oh, his brother is.
Wasn't there a Jimmy Hot Dogs a couple weeks ago?
Jimmy Hot Dogs.
But Billy, to answer your question, I was also watching a bit of Blackbird as well. I'm almost done with Blackbird.
Is that the thing about SeaWorld?
No, that's
Blackfish.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Blackfish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
not the ocean.
Is that the one? I thought that was the one with Anthony Anderson.
Also,
No, that's
Blackish.
I also marvel at how much time Woody has to do all this stuff, and then I realize, he's a single man.
Natalie Portman.
He doesn't have a
Natalie
kid,
Portman.
doesn't have a wife.
Black Swan. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
What was your actual question about the
it's-
NFL?
How
that
are
was
you
a
getting
question?
ready for the football season?
You
I have no
don't-
idea what's
Oh,
going. Like,
oh,
I'm a Dolphins fan, and I have no idea what they're going to look like
The
week
Gesicki
one.
thing, I think, is very interesting because people are breaking down the snap counts in the preseason, which is how can you glean anything from snap counts in the preseason?
Well, preseason is a really good indicator of how people plan to use certain people, right? Like, there's people like Traylon
No, it
Burks.
isn't.
Yes, it is.
Tyreek Hill hasn't played a
No.
snap, has he?
No.
That's fine, but you're
wanna
talking about
hide
the
the
highest
stuff.
paid. You're talking about the highest paid wide receiver
Conventionally
in
speaking,
the league.
you are right, but not in today's NFL. Something happened 3 years
The
ago
first-
where you're not showing any cards. You're not showing any personnel, really.
The first two series of the game are the only ones that matter in terms of like what the teams will
Not
look like.
even.
Everything
not
else
even
is-
that, but Mike's
Not
right.
even.
But think about if it's 4th and short and you want to go for it.
Oh,
You're not going to show
no.
a play that you want to use in the right. You're going to
Yeah.
show a play. You're just going to run it up the middle.
No, it's not even. I don't want to go through the 4th and short because there's bodies colliding. I just want to stay healthy to get to the season. So you're not playing these guys at all. But the Gesicki stuff is interesting because he has been playing some, and he's actually been a backup if you look at the snap counts. And the whole thing, we wanted to press Mike McDaniel on this a little bit more. I wanted to ask him a pointed and direct question is, Gesicki is a wide receiver. He argued he's a wide receiver. He cannot block. You have to block in that offense. Look at George Kittle. He is one of the best blockers at the position in modern times. Mike McDaniel's going to want to replicate that. Do you have the personnel to do that here in Miami? Not with your starting, air quotes, tight end. I actually was kicking around over the weekend. Miami would be wise, especially considering the fines that were levied for the tampering stuff and the capital they gave up for Tyreek Hill. Might be worth seeing what you can get for Gesicki.
Which would feel really harsh because he's been a Pro Bowl level player. He's been a draft pick that has worked. He's currently on a franchise tag. I wonder, like, that's probably not great trade value. You're on a 1-year franchise
But
tag.
if you could flip him for someone that fits the system.
That's rare. Like, player for player trades in the NFL, like, you just go to another team. Hell, can I take a tight end that's more kind of block
heavy tight
Yeah.
end.
I was just saying replenish the capital
block
because they have Smythe, who's been playing well, who can get
But
after
Durham
it
Smythe
definitely
is going to
more.
be your starting tight end because he can block, right? Like, that's where we are.
Right.
You look at the history of the Shanahan offense, and the tight ends had put up massive numbers just because they were out there. It's kind of sneaky. Everyone looks at the running backs, and it's like everyone goes to Orlandis Gary and Mike Anderson,
Ruben
and so
Drones,
Alfred Morris, and so
Ruben
on and
Drones,
so forth. But if you look at the tight ends that have had success in that offense too, guys that were top 10 in fantasy points by the names of Owen Daniels that you would stream all the time. Tight ends have success in that by the nature of their position on the field.
I feel like you're more confident in the Dolphins' schematic advantage over the rest of the league than even I am. Like
Yeah.
I'm not buying on it in quite this way. I know that like McDaniel is well
He
thought
felt
of.
his aura in person.
No. He like
No,
Mike
it's
is just
a Kyle
you're
Shanahan
just a big Shanahan guy.
Yeah, it's
The
a Mike
system
Shanahan
works.
thing.
The
It's a
system
Mike
works.
Shanahan, Gary Kubiak thing. It's moving the pocket. It's rolling out. The system has worked for 30 years in the NFL, and no one's really caught on to it. It's still working. Jimmy Garoppolo almost made it to a Super Bowl. He should have. They dropped an interception. He should have made it to the Super Bowl. I think it's a cheat code in the NFL. I think it's a schematic advantage, and I think it's shown, especially with Kyle and Mike McDaniel, that it can go from place to place. Places that weren't great jobs because they got there to them. They were open for a reason, and they got immediate results with the personnel that they had. Doesn't matter. They come in, they instill their ways, they find the personnel that fits it. They don't really veer away from it either. The system is the system.
I think the interesting thing to note, though, is we talk about preseason snaps and like if it's an indicator for regular season, schematic advantages, is they have Gesicki who lined up out wide a disproportionate amount from any tight end in the NFL because they used him as a pseudo third wide receiver or second wide receiver when Devontae Parker and these guys were hurt. But the fact that he's playing in line now and being asked to block at such a higher rate in the preseason is telling me like that's what they want him to be. And you're going to have that and do what with him?
Yeah, and they're not a team that like is going to run a ton of 3 and 4 wide receiver. When they do, I imagine you can line them up out there. But they're like, correct me if I'm wrong, they're more of like a 2 tight ends kind of coaching staff, and they try and make players. The only thing that scares me about this is, I do trust Mike McDaniel for the moment, and obviously, like you said, his offense works. However, system turnover has resulted in the Dolphins losing great talents before. You think of, for example, Minka Fitzpatrick being traded, and they got a good haul for him, but I think that haul turned into like Austin Jackson's been a pretty bad offensive lineman for the Dolphins. Like they lost an all-pro caliber player because he didn't fit with Brian Flores' system, and to lose a good draft pick and a homegrown player in Mike Gesicki because he doesn't fit a system like that immediately sends off red flags for me.
I'd be stunned if we see Gesicki out wide the way that we saw him last year. The whole idea behind this offense is to get your players out in space. Have whoever's guarding the tight end come back to the line so you can have that player in space. We never saw George Kittle really line up wide. Yeah, they did a couple of gadget things and keep the defense honest. But anytime you've seen that offense really take a different shape, it's because the quarterback is a little bit more athletic and they can do a little bit more of the RPO stuff. Matt Ryan wasn't really going to convince you that he was going to be a running threat, but it can work with a passer. It's kind of like Chip Kelly's offense could work with a pure passer too. He would argue that it worked even better with a pure passer. It's just with Tua, it's going to be more pass reliant, and it's going to really accentuate the speed that you have on the outside. And I don't think you want Gesicki on the outside. You want the fast guys on the outside.
The team build is interesting to me, too, because it's almost like they built their team and then we're like, oh, Mike McDaniel, come and fix it, right? You have all these wide receivers getting money, and then you have a franchise tag on a tight end that's kind of a wide receiver, and then you've got running backs everywhere that you paid, and now you have Sony Michel, and you have Chase Edmonds, you have Raheem Mostert. It's like, what are these hodgepodge of players going to actually do? Because if you're saying you're running 12 personnel all the time, then why do you have Cedric Wilson? Why do you have all these guys to just kind of sit here and do nothing?
I love the dropping of 12 personnel.
Come on,
I almost said 22 personnel earlier, but I don't want to sound like a boob. I guess we had a conversation for 6 minutes about what the Dolphins are going to do, and preseason offers us very few answers. My question is the NFL now just a sport where you just show up to week 1 and are kind of pleasantly surprised by what goes on? Because I think even experts, like I listen to a lot of experts, and they're like, oh, I was watching this person's tape last year, and I'm like going back and watching games from the year before, and I just think it's a completely different context year over year. Like it's tough to apply things that happened last year to this year. It's almost like you kind of show up blind. You're like, all right, let's see how the Dolphins look this year. They're a completely new look team.
I'm learning nothing from watching the games. The only way that I'm learning in advance of fantasy drafts and just to get a general betting advantage is by reading beat writers that are at practice. And even then, they don't show the goods to the writers. They kick them off at a certain time, but they talk to the players, they talk to the coaches, and they find out which players are making an impact, which players are flashing. And that, you're getting way more from training camp than you could ever get from watching these exhibitions.
At some point, we're going to do away with preseason, right?
No.
Or does it just serve too vital a function to teams?
Yeah, like one, they use it to figure out who's going to make the 53-man roster. So it's players that we don't give a shit about, but they do, right?
It's such a dreadful entertainment product, though.
But two, it's kind of crazy. It's part of when they sell your season ticket package.
It's part of the package.
Part
yeah,
of the package.
It's bullshit.
I actually like it as like it's a build up to week 1. It's like, yeah, I'm watching this Dolphins game, not emotionally invested, get to see the uniforms out there. It's like you can talk to friends, you're at a friend's house. Like I like on a game not really mattering. It's like once the game start week 1, I'm gonna be freaking out over every possession. So this is nice.
Are you freaking out on every possession?
A Dolphins game? I mean, I'm not maybe not freaking out.
Are you even watching every possession? Because like I'm mainly locked in a red zone.
Dolphins games, I keep on Dolphins games. I mean, if it gets bad, if they're losing, I'll go to red zone.
You don't watch red zone just as a entertainment product, like to watch your team.
What's on TV1? What's on TV?
Well, I only have one TV.
I was about to say.
Yeah, but
how
you
many
probably
guys,
have like an iPad.
What I do is I'll flip over to red zone when a commercial comes, and I will admit sometimes I will get lost in red zone. I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot, and I got to go back to the Dolphins game. But that's about the extent of it.
How many people in the room have a Mike Ryan, Jack Palance setup in their house, where it's like a bank of TVs?
I've only got the second. I have a second TV.
By
the way,
I got a
yes.
second too. Yeah.
But you don't need
not a
that
bank,
anymore.
I only have one TV.
What do you mean?
total.
I'd say a branch.
You don't need to have multiple TVs. You
course
could just
you do.
have, no, you
Like,
don't.
like your
Well, if
You
you
just have
if
an
you care,
iPad,
you
a
need
laptop, a
multiple
phone, and
No,
then
the
you're-
iPad's too small. I need to see what's going on.
What do you mean it's too small?
It's too small.
I can. There's actually a spot.
No, it's in your head.
No, it's not in my head.
It's not
It's
too small.
100% in your head.
It's too
If you're
small.
holding
Zombie.
if you're holding an iPad here, right, like close to your face.
Yeah, but why
like,
would I be watching it here, but
Well,
also watching
whatever,
it up there?
You're
within
probably
reading
seeing
distance.
it better, to Billy's point.
100%.
Than like your TV
Because
that's
I need to have it a
distance.
little bit of
You
distance
could have
away.
a 55-inch TV
I
that's
do.
20
It's small.
feet away,
Right.
And your iPad's screen is larger because it's
But I have
closer
another
to
TV
you.
that's smaller that I can actually watch. It's a little bit closer. That's
Did this
not
with video
super
games.
close.
My friend
What
told
does
me to
that
get a
even-
gaming monitor, and I hate it.
What's a gaming monitor?
Gaming monitor is a monitor that has this refresh rate that it doesn't even have speakers on the damn thing.
Yeah.
I hate it. It's so tiny. Can't see anything.
So what's the purpose?
The graphics look better. I don't give a shit. Like I play video games maybe twice a year during one of my daughter's naps. Like I need, I want to see what I'm playing. I can't do it with the small screens. Really can't.
What do you have like what like the school like elementary school like cart that you move a TV around on like
How'd you know?
well you
I
say
love
you
that.
have this little screen that's
I have like a
Oh,
30.
stand
I have
and
like a
deliver.
32-inch screen.
where is that
20th
It's in my.
century.
It's my studio.
but you move it
Yeah, I just unplug it from the wall and then I put it on top of the TV mount,
Wait,
and then I've
what?
got 2 of them.
Wait, you're serious?
Yeah.
I thought you were just going along with the bit.
you're
No.
moving TVs around
It's a 32-inch TV, guys. It's like this big. It's 32
Yeah.
inches. It's
but
not
what
that big.
you
and
sit it
you-
down like on a table around you
Okay, so picture
love
this.
it.
I've got a TV
do you have
mounted
a
on the
picture
wall.
yeah
Okay, then I've got a TV like desk, like to put stuff in, right? And then I put that other TV on top of that little desk. So I've got 2 within like a foot of each other. You get me?
they're
does
not
the
blocking each other
Where does the TV go when it's done?
Back
Like-
into the studio
Why don't you always leave it there?
because my wife doesn't like it.